Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you have been informed about the lectures, right? At 2 p.m. It will start at 2 p.m. Did you rep inform about that? Okay, we will start the lectures now, and if others are joining later, we will let them join. Okay, so in the previous two classes, we were looking about the personality and values, where we have covered many things, the measurement of personality, different personality models, and all. So, a small part is remaining here is the values. Okay. So, so the values is almost connected to it's something which is really connected to the personality of an individual. Okay, so it represents the basic conviction that a specific mode of conduct or the end state of existence is personally or socially preferable to an opposite or converse mode of conduct or the end state of existence. So value in the sense it's like the right or wrong things, so the right things are usually preferred to the wrong things. So it's a belief. Okay, so something that a person values or believes as the right may be believed or may be viewed as the wrong thing by the other person. So it's a conviction. So it may be in relation to the code of conduct or the in state of existence means it may be related to the behavior the people think about. So it's something is socially preferable and something is not. So, so preferable in the sense, so the people used to prefer or act in a way that they consider is correct or right than the other actions or other things. So they contain a judgmental element in that they carry an individual's ideas as to what is right, good, or desirable. Okay. So the value, yes, values are a judgmental element. As I already said, something you consider as the right thing may be considered as by someone else in a wrong way. Something is viewed in a wrong way. That is the values. Okay. So it's a judgmental element. So each and every person will have a judgmental things about something and that will form their value. The content attribute say a mode of conduct or the end existence is important. So the attribute says that this mode of conduct, the behavior or the thing we give more importance is important. So the intensity attribute specifies how important it is. So there could be two attributes. The first one, the content attribute. The other one is the intensity attribute. The content attributes means they say that what is considered as the right and wrong is really important. And intensity attribute says that how far or how much it is important. So when we rank an individual's value in terms of their intensity, we obtain that person's value system. So a person may have different values holding different values. Each and every individual may hold the values about different things, different values about different things. So when we rank all of these values in terms of their intensity, that will form the value system of a particular individual. So value system is a hierarchy based on the ranking of an individual's values in terms of their intensity. So it's a hierarchy. So that is based on the ranking of the individual value in terms of the intensity of those values. Okay. Is that clear? What does the value means? What you consider as the right and what you consider as important form the value. So based on that, the values are formed. For which you are giving more and more importance is the value to yourself. And if you rank them in an order of importance or order of competency or in order of the intensity, we can form the value system. For example, maybe the independence may be the most important thing for yourself. The peace may be the most important thing for someone else. Or achievement is the most important thing for someone else. So based on so if you if someone asks yourself whether the independence or the achievement is most important to yourself, you will say, if you are some persons may say that, okay, independence is the most important thing to my life. So if we rank that independence and the achievement in a pyramid or something based on the importance to yourself, we can create the value system of an individual. Okay, so why these values are really important to the people? Values lay down the foundation for our understanding of people's attitude and motivation and influence our perception. So therefore, they lay down the foundation for understanding the people's attitude and the motivation. So values are the one, they create a foundation for understanding the people's attitude and the motivation. And when we enter into an organization with a pre-convinced notion of what ought to be right and what ought not to be right, so these notions are value free, and on the contrary, they contain our interpretation of right or wrong things and a preference of the certain behavior or the outcome of the other. So if we consider, like, for example, when we enter into the organization, we may have some preconvention. So you may have a like a value that equality. So male and female has to be treated equally. That kind of value you may hold about. So whenever you are entering into the organization as an employee, you also value or you think that this organization has to treat the male and female in an equal manner. Okay, so based on that, your behaviors will be determined, because whenever an opportunity comes, if you are being the boss in that particular organization, you will give the equal opportunity for the male and female. So that will be reflected in your behaviors and the outcome. So if that is not uh, considered by, or if the organization violates those values, you will not work there. Okay, so as a result, the value cloud objectivity and the rationality, and they influence the attitude and the behavior. So usually the values influence the attitude and the behavior of an individual. Is that clear? What is values and why it is important? How it could affect? Okay, so these values could be categorized into two ways. The first one, Roque survey value or the value survey that is conducted by the Milton Roque. Okay, and it consists of two set of values. Excuse me for a while. Okay, so the values could be categorized into two, the terminal value and the instrumental value. So the terminal values is defined as, so it could be described as the desirable end state of existence. That is the goal a person would like to achieve during his or her lifetime. So terminal values are the things that is the desirable end state of existence. So that means at the end where you want to be, but is your desire to be at the end of your life. Okay, so end of a particular journey or end of the particular career, what you want to be, where you want to be, what is your desired position. So that is the terminal value. That means the goals a person would like to achieve during his or her lifetime. So whatever the goal you want to achieve during your lifetime is called as the terminal value. The other set of values are called as the instrumental value. Instrumental values is the preferable mode of behavior or the mean of achieving the terminal value. So instrumental values are the preferable mode of behavior. That means uh, it means the way of achieving that terminal value. So goals you are expected to achieve or whatever you would like to achieve in your lifetime is terminal value, and the instrumental value in the sense the way of achieving, the mean of achieving those terminal value. It's like a path of achieving these terminal value. Some example of the terminal value according to these Roque value survey are the prosperity, the economic success, freedom, health and well-being, world peace, social recognition, meaning in life. So these are some examples of this terminal value. In the same manner, the instrumental value could be autonomy, the self-reliance, personal discipline, kindness, ambition, the goal orientation. These are some values which can be categorized or classified as the instrumental values. Okay. The next thing is uh, the generational values. You can this is not much important to yourself, so you can read about these values because the people uh, born in different stages or different years are categorized into different groups. So, where the people born in between 1965 to 1985 are called as the boomers, and now they are in approximately in the age of mid 40s to 60s. And Xers, 1985 to 2000 born people are called as the Xers, and they are now around late 20s and early 40s. And the next is 2000 to present people, so they are under the age of 30. Okay, so since these people have born in different periods, born with different technologies and all, their work values are differing from one another. Okay, for example, the boomers, they give more importance to the success, achievement, ambition, and they don't like the authority at all, and they are really loyal to the career or the organization they works for. And the people who born in between 85 to 2000, they are called as the Xers, and they usually or they mostly seek for the work-life balance, team oriented, list like team oriented people. They don't want to work alone. They want to work as a team. Dislike the rules and regulations, and they are really loyal to the relationship. So they are not only loyal to their career, but also the relationship established in the workplace. They are really loyal. And next is they are the people born after 2000 and present. So they are really confident, and they want the financial success. They don't give that much importance to the relationship like the extras. What they want is the financial success, self-reliant, but also they also the team oriented one. They don't want to work alone. Again, they can also work well with the team, and loyalty to both self and relationship. Okay, so these are the some kind of values. So how the values are differing. So millennials and these nexters are both the same term referred to the people who born after 2000s. Okay. So again, so with the age and with the timing, how the values are changing. Okay. So the people value different things over different periods. So now linking the individual value with the workplace or individual personality to the workplace. So for that, we can use two different the fits or the connections. The first one is the person job fit, and the second one is person organization fit. So the person job fit in the sense, the effort to match the job requirement with the personality characteristic is best articulated in John Holland's personality job fit theory. So in order to identify the fit between the personality and the job, we can use the theory called the John Holland person job fit theory. You might have studied about this theory earlier, maybe in have you ever studied about this in career progression or the psychology? You might have studied. Is that so? Okay, so you might have some basic knowledge about this person job fit theory. So, in order to identify the fit between the person and the job, this Holland job fit theory could be used. So, it represents 6 personality types and proposes that satisfaction and the propensity to leave a position depends on how well individual match their personality to the job. So they say, so the John Holland says that the satisfaction the individual gain in their job and whether they want to work for that particular job or work in that particular organization or they want to leave depends on how well the individual match to their personalities to a particular job. Okay, how well they match to each other. So that is what the personality job fit theory says. So it categorizes the personality into 6 types, and these 6 type of personality people will have different personality characteristics, and according to these personality characteristics, different occupation could be more suitable to themselves. Okay, so the realistic people prefers the physical activity that requires skill, strength, and the coordination. So realistic means is one of the characteristic, one of the type, and the people who are realistic, whose characteristics fall under the category of realistic, prefer the physical activity and they want to exercise their skills, strength and coordination in whatever the work they do. So their personality characteristics are they are like shy, they are very genuine, persistent. Whatever they do, they are able to do it continuously. They are really stable at work, conforming to the practical. So those are the characteristics of these realistic people. And the most suitable occupation for themselves are the mechanic, drill press operator, the assembly line worker, farmer. Those kind of occupations are more suitable to the realistic personality people. And investigative, they prefer activity involving the thinking, organizing, and understanding. So they prefer the activity. They want to exercise their thinking, their organizing, their understanding. Those are the investigative type. So these investigative type people, they analytical, like original, curious, and the independent. So their characteristics would be they are very analytical, they are curious, and they want to gain new knowledge, and they are really independent. No one else can control them. So the suitable occupation for themselves are the biologist, economist, mathematician, news reporter. These kind of people or these kind of occupations are more suitable for the investigative people. And social people, they want to involve in the social activity. They want to help and develop the other people. Okay, so the social friendly and cooperative and understanding are the characteristics of these people. And the social worker, teacher, counselor, the clinical psychologist are the congruent operation, in the sense the more suitable operations, because these type of people wants to work with other people, many people. They want to surrounded by the people. So social worker, teacher, counselors are the jobs which are dealing with the humans. And the conventional, they prefer the rule regulated, orderly, and unambiguous activity. So that is the conventional types. So the personality characteristics of these people: confirming, efficient, practical, and they are really unimaginative, because they don't see themselves very imaginative and creative. They just follow the rules and regulation. They, if they want to do something, they need the clearly defined rules and regulations of doing those things. So the suitable jobs for themselves are the accountant, corporate manager, bank teller, the file clerks, because they are doing the routine activity. The way of doing those activities are clearly defined, and they don't want to innovate anything. They just can follow the rules and regulation. And the next type is the enterprising. So they prefer the verbal activity in which they have opportunities to influence others and attain their power. So enterprising people, they want to initiate something. They want to like persuade others to make to ask them to do something for themselves. Those kind of people are the enterprising people. So they are really self-confident, ambitious, energetic, domineering, because they want to influence the other people, dominate the other people. So the lawyer, real estate agent, the public relations specialist, those kind of people are the occupations is more suitable for the enterprise. And artistic, they prefer the ambiguous and the unsystematic activity that allow the creative expression. So these people are very creative. and very imaginative. So they want to involve in artistic activity, and the suitable occupation for themselves are the musician, the writer, interior decorator, painter. So those kind of occupations are more suitable for the artistic type of people. So that is what the Holland job theory says. So it says that if a person is realistic one, he should find a job under the realistic type. If not, he can do some activity, do some job which is falling under the investigative type or else the conventional type. The subsequent or the closer to field they can involve in. So for another example is if the person is social type, he the most suitable one is the social type job. If not, if he could not get a social type job, he can go for an enterprising or the artistic. The other two jobs also he can. For example, this is the person, social type person. So he has to get a job from the social type, or else he can choose a job from artistic type, or else enterprising type. Because these two fields are more closer to each other. That means the social type is really closer to enterprising, and artistic is really closer to the social type. So in order to maintain this relationship, you have to again, whenever you are ordering these types into a hexagonal, you have to maintain their order. So first would be the R, second would be the investigative type, third would be the A type, artistic, fourth would be the social, S, fifth would be the enterprising, sixth would be the conventional type. You should not change these order. So this order has to be maintained. Okay. So in order to uh, keep this, so in order to maintain this order of the relationship, you can easily follow the name Riya said. Okay. In order to keep this information, or in order to keep this order, you can keep in mind the order in a way, in a simple way, using the first letter of each word, the Riya said. So you have to when this person says, or the John Holland says that these categories or the personality categories could be placed into a hexagon where each adjacent field, in the sense each field, the closer to field is also more suitable to the other person. So the most suitable is that particular field. If not, the other closer to field can also be suitable to a particular person. So research strongly support that resulting hexagonal diagram, the two closer field or the orientation are in the hexagon are more compatible they are. So adjacent categories are quite similar, whereas diagnostically opposite ones are highly dissimilar. So here you know that the realistic type is closer to the realistic type is really closer to this type. Okay, so this investigative type and the other type. But when you consider the social type, it is the right opposite of this realistic type. Okay, so the realistic type, it is the right opposite of the social. But these conventional and these investigative types are really closer to the realistic type. Okay, so that is what said by these John Holland uh, person's job fit theory. So a person has to get a job from the same category. If not, they can go for a adjacent category. They should not select a job from the diagnostically opposite ones. Okay, so those are really dissimilar. If a person is realistic type, if they get a person job from the social category, they will not be satisfied in that particular job, and they want to leave the organization always. Okay, so this is the person job fit theory. The other theory is again the key points that we key insight that we can gain from this model is, first one, there do appear to be intrinsic differences in the personality among the individual. There are different types of jobs. The people in the congruent with their personality should be more satisfied and less likely to voluntarily resign than the people incongruent. So that means there are different personality types. There are different type of jobs in around. There are different types of jobs in the world, and if a person is congruent with, if the person's personality is matching with a particular job type of job, they will be satisfied and they like less likely to leave the organization. And if not, they are dissatisfied and they want to leave the organization always. Okay. The next theory relating to this is the person organization fit theory. So this theory is almost familiar to you all. So no need to explain further. I hope you all have an understanding about this. And the other theory is the person organization fit. So again, the first theory says about how the person and the type of job should be matched to each other. This theory says that the person and the type of people, or the type of the organization has to be matched to each other. So it is more important that employees' personality fit with the overall organizational culture than with the characteristics of any specific job. Not only with the job, the person has to match themselves with the organization. So the person organization fit essentially argues that the people are attracted to and selected by the organization that match with their values, and they leave the organization that are not compatible with their personality. So if you think that that particular organization is matching with my, if for example you are expecting for a flexibility, and if an organization is offering the work schedule in a very flexible manner, remote working, they are just expecting the goals to be achieved, they are not expecting the way of doing the work, you will be attracted to that organization and you want to get a job from that particular organization. If you are seeking for a flexibility and if the organization offers you a job of 9 to 5 environment job, then you don't want to work for that organization because that values of the culture of the organization is not matching to your values. So that is the person's organization fit. Okay. Is that clear? Is that two clear theories are clear? Anything to ask? Are you all clear with these theories? If you want to ask anything, you can ask. Shall we move to the other section? The international values part, the final part of this particular chapter. Okay, so now we will move to the final part, that is the international values. Okay, so one of the most widely referenced approaches for analyzing the variation among the culture was done in late 19 by Geert Hofstede. So late 1970, this person has classified the values according to different culture, where he found that the managers and employees vary on five value dimension of the national culture. So they have this person, the Hofstede, has identified five value dimension. Accordingly, the managers would vary. So the first value dimension is the power distance. So the power distance describes the degree to which the people in a country accept that power in institutions and organization is distributed unequally. That means how much, how to which extent, to what extent the people in a country or people in a nation accepting that the power in an organization or the institution is distributed unequally. So whether they are thinking that the power is distributed equally, or whether they consider that the power is unequally distributed, that is the power distance. So a high rating on the power distance means large inequality. So if they rate high for the power distance, that means the large inequalities are existing. And if they rate low for the power distance, they state that almost all the people are treated equally. There is no any variation or unequality in the power. So that is the first dimension according to the Hofstede. The second dimension is individualism versus the collectivism. Individualism means the degree to which the people prefer to act as an individual rather than the member of the group who believe in individual right above all else. Okay, that means how much or how to what extent to how much you want to work as an individual rather than working as a group. Whether you want to work in a group, work as a group, or else whether you want to work as an individual. That is what the individualism. How much you want to work as an individual. The collectivism, in the sense, it emphasizes a tight social framework in which the people expect the others in the group of which they are a part of, they look after them and protect them. Okay, so collectivism, in the sense, you want to work as a team. You consider others in your group as a part of your group and you take care of them, you look after them, you protect them. That is the collectivism. Okay, so if you are very collectivistic person, you want to work in a team and you will very much care about your members and their values and all. Okay, so this is the second dimension according to the Hofstede. And the third dimension according to the Hofstede is the masculinity versus the femininity. Okay, so Hofstede construct of the masculinity means how much or the degree to which the culture favors the traditional masculine role, such as the achievement, power, control, as opposed to viewing the men and women as the equal. So masculinity, in the sense, the people view the men as more powerful, more achievement oriented, and they have more control over the women. So if a society is favoring to the men, that is the masculine one. So high masculine rating indicates the culture has separate role for the men and women. So they are not treating men and women equally. So they view that something has to be done by men only. So for example, like uh, cycling or like maybe like the bike race and all has to be done only by the men. Cricket has to be played only by the men. If that kind of personality, that kind of mindset is there with the people, that society is masculine in nature. If the women are dominating, so if organization is treating both as equal to each other, they are not separating the role. So, for example, in masculine society, they will say that woman is the one, they have to take care of the children, they have to cook for the people in the home, and they have to take care of the home. That is the only role needs to be played by the woman. That's how the masculine society will view. Okay, a high in feminist rating means the culture see little differentiation between the male and female role and treats the woman as the equal of the men in all respects. Okay, so if it is a feminine society, that means they treat the women and men as equal and they don't see much differences between these two parties. That is the feminism. Okay, the next one is the uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance means the degree to which people in a country prefer structured over unstructured situation. Okay, so the uncertainty means they don't want to, like take risk, and they don't want to do new things, they don't want to initiate anything. They just want to work with the structured high. The people may not ready to take the risk at all. But if the uncertainty avoidance is low, then the people are ready to work with the uncertain situation. They are ready to work with the anxiety, and they have less controls over the certainty, but they are ready to take the risk. That kind of personality or that kind of values are there in the society, where it gives rate laws on this uncertainty avoidance. And the final international value dimension is the long term versus the short term orientation. That means the newer the addition to the Hofstede typology, so it measures the society's devotion to the traditional value. So people in a culture with a long-term orientation look to the future and value thrift, persistence, and the tradition. Okay. So people who look to the future. So if the people are living in a uh, very much like culture oriented or long-term orientation, if they are really good looking the future in a very long term way, they will value the persistence and the tradition. In a short term orientation, people value the here and now. Okay, so they just want to live in that particular day. They don't look at the future. They don't care about the future. They don't worry about the future. They want to live in that particular moment. That is their goal. Okay, that is the short term oriented people. Okay, is that clear? Anything to ask in this Hofstede value dimension, international value dimensions? Anything to ask? Any clarification on this? Shall we move to the other section? The final part is the globe framework. Okay. So it began in 1993, the Global Leadership and Organizational Behavior Effectiveness Research Program. That is a cross cultural investigation of this leadership and the national culture. So, like how the Hofstede framework has been developed by that particular person, these globe framework has been a research program has been conducted in 1993, and they have gone for an investigation, a cross cultural investigation of the leadership and the national culture. So, using the data from around 825 organizations in 62 countries, this globe team, that particular research team, identified 9 dimensions on which the national culture differs. In addition to the Hofstede dimension, where it is 5, this research team has identified 9 different dimensions. Okay, so, such as the power distance, individualism and collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, gender differentiation, almost similar to the femininity and the masculinity, and the future orientation, almost similar to the long term and the short term orientation. So, these are something which is already there in the Hofstede framework. Other than that, they have identified 4 other things. So, the main difference in the globe framework added the dimension. So, what are the added dimension to this globe framework? In addition to the Hofstede is the first one, human orientation, the degree to which a society rewards the individual for their articularity, generous, and the kind to others. So, if a person is really kind to others, if he is really generous, whether the society is giving some importance to that particular person or not. That is the human orientation. And the performance orientation, the degree to which the society encourages and rewards the group members for the performance, whether they are giving importance to the people or whether they are giving importance to the society or the performance. That is what added dimension according to the Globe framework than the uncertainty, than the Hofstede framework, Hofstede International Value Framework. Is that clear? Anything to ask in chapter 5? If you are clear, raise your hands. 1%, 2, 25, 68, almost 70 out of 117. Where are others? Do you have any clarification, anything to ask, or else are you all not here at the moment? 78 hands have been raised. Okay. Okay. Thank you for those who have raised your hands. Thank you so much for responding. So now we will move to okay, we will move to the next chapter, that is the personal perception and the individual decision making. Okay, so these are the specific learning objectives of this particular chapter, the perception and individual decision making. Define the perception and explain the factors that influence it. Okay, the first learning objective is define the perception and explain the factors which are influencing the perception of an individual. Second one, explain attribution theory and list the three determinants of the attribution. Second one, explain the attribution theory. Okay, attribution theory, and list out the three determinants of these attributions. The attribution of a person could be determined out of three factors, and we will try to learn about those factors. And then identify the shortcuts individual use when they are making judgment about the other. So when you look into, or when you deal with some persons or interact with the persons, you used to make some judgments. So based on certain shortcuts, you're using certain shortcuts in order to make the judgment about the other people. Okay. So what kind of judgments you all are using, or usually the people are using when making the judgment about others, and explain the link between the perception and the decision making. Okay, so how this perception is linked to the decision making. What is the link between these two? And apply the decision making model. That is, the first decision making model is the rational decision making model, and another type is the bounded rationality and the intuitive model. So we will try to compare and contrast those things, and also list and explain the common decision bias or the errors associated with the decision. So whenever you are making some decisions, what kind of errors or what kind of bias you are encountering, and explain how the individual differences and the organizational constraint affect the decision making. Okay, so individual differences and organizational constraints, what kind of differences are there, constraints are there, and that could affect the decision making. Contrast the ethical criteria. So if you want to make your decision in an ethical way, what kind of criteria are there, what kind of criteria you need to be followed. And finally, the creativity, and discuss the three component model of this creativity. Those kind of things will be covered in this particular chapter, and these are the learning outcomes which we are expected to achieve at the end of this particular chapter. Okay, so now we will move to the chapter. Okay, so what is the perception? This is also something familiar to you all. You might have studied about these things in the psychology and the social harmony. There's a separate chapter for this perception. Is that so? Did you all study? Yes. Thank you for your response. So, perception is something like it's a process by which the individual organize and interpret their sensory impression in order to give meaning to their environment. So, people, you will encounter many sensory impressions. Like, what are the sense organs for a people, a person, for an individual? You might have studied about these sense organs. Any responses? Eye is a sense organ. Like how? What else are the sense organ? Using eye, you what you do is you try to see everything around yourself. In the same manner, the other sense organs are ears. Yeah, skin, ears, other sense organs. So ears is used to hear the voice raised by the environment, and the skin whenever someone touches, or when we touch something, we used to get a meaning out of that touch. Based on the touch, we will gain some meaning, or we will gain some knowledge. And the nose, using the nose, we will smell, or the uh, we will try to like get the flavors or smell out in the environment. Okay, and these are the sense organ. Tongue, the other is the tongue. So using the tongue we can taste the food and taste any item which is there in the environment. Okay, so using the sense organ we will try to see, we will try to hear something, we will try to feel something using the touch, we will try to smell and identify the taste of something. So based on those things, based on that sensory impression, once we see something, we will try to develop a meaning out of that sensory impression. We will try to organize those impression, that visual explanation, and we will try to give a meaning out of that. For example, you are seeing that two people are uh, like fighting with each other, and by looking at that fight you try to develop a meaning out of that. The one person, you may try to perceive one person as the bad one and the other one as the innocent, and you may think that this person is hitting or this person is torturing the other person. Like how, whatever it is, you try to get some impression or try to develop some meaning out of the sensory impression. Okay, so, however, we perceive can substantially different from the objective reality. But sometimes you may think that one person as the innocent and the other one as the offendant. But once you go deep into those fight and do an analysis, hereafter you get to know that the person who you consider as the innocent as the culprit, and that person is initiated the fight. So what you see or what you hear may not be the right thing. So it can be substantially differ from the objective reality. Okay, so for example, all employees in the firm may view it as a great place to work, favorable working condition, the interesting job assignments, good pay, excellent benefit, understanding and responsible management. But most of us know it's very unusual to find such agreements. Okay, so sometimes the people think that okay, this is the best organization to work for, but we know that there are many organizations better than these. Okay, so what you think, what you hear, what you see may be different from the reality. So why is this perception is important in the field of OB is simply because the people's behavior is based on their perception of what reality is, not the reality itself. So whatever you do, however you react, is based on the things you hear, the things you see, the things you smell, and the things you taste. So, based on that only, your behavior is going to be decided. No matter whether it is actually happening, whether it is uh, true or false, it doesn't matter, but how you view is going to decide your behavior. So the world as it is perceived is the world that is behaviorally important. Okay, that's why we are considering about the perception in OB, because the OB is completely all about the people's behavior at work. if the people's behavior at work is affected or influenced by the perception at work, obviously that is relevant to the organizational behavior. Okay. Now we will see what are the factors affecting the perception. Okay. So now look at this picture. Just observe this picture. Now you'll observe. Yes or no? Okay.
Yes,
Now, okay. Now look at this picture. Is this okay? Have you all looked at?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now tell me which of these two picture is pretty? Which of these two picture is beautiful? You can name this one as the picture A, this one as the picture B. Whether picture A or picture B is more beautiful.
B, ma'am.
Obviously B. Okay. So those who have answered to the question, why do you think the picture B is more beautiful than the picture A? Why you are considering this as the beautiful picture than the picture A? Why you don't consider this as the beautiful picture? What's the reason? Around it good view rather than the picture A. Yeah, obviously. So the background of this picture B, the second picture, is more beautiful than the background of the picture A, that is the first picture. So even the person in both the picture is same. Even the person is wearing the same black color shirt, is holding his hands in the same manner in both the picture. Nothing has changed. Even reaction of the particular person is not changed. But the only thing changed is the background. So that made or that affected your perception of which picture is more beautiful. Okay, so this is how the different factors may affect your perception of the factors or the events happening in the environment or the people in the environment. Okay, so the background is one such factor which may affect your perception. And other than the background, there are many other factors which could affect the perception of the individual. So the factors affecting the perception, so we can categorize the factors which affects the perception of an individual into three. The first one, factors in the perceiver, factors in the situation. Third one, factors in the target. So there are many factors which could affect the perception of an individual. So we can categorize all those factors under three categories. First one, it is under the perceiver. Second one, it is under the situation. Third one, it is under target. Okay, so these are the three categories of factors which could affect the perception of an individual. Okay, so under the factors of this perceiver, there are many. The first one is attitude, motives, interest, experience, and the expectation. Okay, so perceiver in the sense that if you are developing a perception of these two different pictures, the perceiver is yourself. So maybe your attitude towards something, like if a person have wear different colors of shirts, maybe one is black and the other one is other checked one, red color checked shirt. Sometimes you may like the black color, and the other person may like the other checked color or red color shirt. So here, the second person will choose the picture as the person who is wearing the red color shirt as the beautiful one. The other will select the picture with the black color shirt. So here, your taste, preferences, attitudes, your expectation may have an influence over how you perceive a situation or how you perceive a person. Okay, and the factors in the situation in the sense, for example, the time, work setting, social setting. So these are the factors which could affect the perception. For example, uh, you see a person, for example, you are working for a company, and in that same company, there's a girl around 25 years old. She's working in the same company, and you may meet that particular girl in a night party, and she is wearing a very like red color, a short dress, and she's having her hair as the loosed one, and full of makeup on the face, and she has came to the party with that dress and with that attire and with full of makeups, and she's wearing the high heels as well. And when you see that girl in such manner in the party, in a night party, you don't take it as a issue, because everyone in that night party is wearing similar kind of dresses, and they also wearing the makeups and the heels and all. Everyone are almost same in that particular situation. But when you see the same girl wearing a similar kind of dress, a short dress with full of makeups and wearing high heels to the office, how would you feel? Whether you will feel in the same manner when you see the girl in the night party, or your feelings would be something different when you see the girl in that work environment. Whether both would be the same. Whether your perception about that girl would be the same in both the situation. Whether you see the girl in that night party and you see the girl in the similar dress and all in the work setting, whether your perception is same. No, because in the night party, it's okay that it's a casual party. Everyone else, they are in the party wearing the similar kind of dresses. But when it comes to the work office, the office people are expected to wear some official wear, a formal wear, and this kind of attire and the full of makeup is not expected or acceptable by the organization itself. So same girl, similar dress, same heels, same makeup, but the difference is the setting. One thing, you see the same girl in the work environment, and the see other environment is the night party. Since the setting is social setting or the work setting is differ, your perception about that particular girl is different. Okay, so this is the factors falling under the situation. The factors in the target we have already seen, the background, how similar the object is. Sometimes the object, if it is really closer to yourself, you may think about something, and if it is really far away yourself, then you may think something else about that same objective. So the similarity, the proximity, the sounds, notion, the novelty, size, everything will have an impact on the perception of something or some person of yourself about that particular person. Okay. So is that clear? What is perception and what are the factors affecting the perception?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If it is clear, we can go for a break about 5 minutes, and we'll start about 3:10. Come back at 3:10. Okay. Okay, shall we start? Okay, so the next thing falling under this perception is the attribution theory. A theory which is saying something about this perception of an individual. Okay, so when we are perceiving about others or making judgment about others, this theory is applied. Okay, so the attribution theory says that when we observe the people, we attempt to explain why they behave in a certain way. When you see your friend is doing something, maybe studying, or else she's getting high marks in a particular examination, you try to explain why these people are behaving in a certain manner. Why this person is getting high marks in the examination, or else why this person is really working hard or studying hard for this examination. So you will try to explain, or you will try to give some meaning for that particular event. So our perception and judgment of the person's action, therefore, will be significantly influenced by the assumptions we make about that person's internal state. So, how we view that person's highest marks is significantly influenced by, it is importantly influenced by the assumptions we make about the person's internal state. Whether how we are making the assumptions. So, what kind of assumptions we are making about that particular person will impact how you see that highest marks. Okay. So, attribution theory try to explain the ways in which the people judge differently depending on the meaning we attribute to give a behavior. So, attribution theory it explains in which the people how the people are trying to judging people differently and how they are giving meaning to that behavior. If the person is getting highest marks, how you are judging about that person, and how you are giving some meaning or how you are explaining that highest marks. So attribution theory is an attempt to determine whether an individual's behavior is internally or externally caused. So attribution theory is trying to determine whether that highest marks or the particular individual's behavior is caused by the internal event. So, for example, you think that whether the highest marks is because she has studied very well, she has prepared for the examination very well, that's why she has gained the highest marks. Or else, whether you are trying to say that since the examination is really easy, since that questions have already been released or leaked, that's why she has gained the highest marks. Whether you are trying to attribute that particular behavior to an internal cause or the external cause. That is the attribution theory. It suggests that when we observe an individual behavior, we attempt to determine whether it was internally or externally caused. When we observe some behavior, we try to determine whether that individual behavior is internal or externally caused, whether that highest marks is because of the internal cause or because of the external cause. Okay, so the determination depends on three factors. First one, distinctiveness. Second one, consensus. Third one, consistency. Okay, so first, we will try to determine or clarify what are these distinctive or determining factors. So usually, the internally caused behaviors are those we believe under the personal control of the individual, and externally caused behaviors is what we imagine the situation forced the individual to do. So if it is internally caused, we say that it's because of that particular person, that particular, for example, the same marks issue. So if we see that particular person, the marks, highest marks is because of that particular person's hard work and the behavior, and that is internally caused. We are determining that marks is because of an internal cause. If we see that the marks is because of the paper is really easy or the questions have already been leaked, we caused or we try to attribute that behavior to an external cause. It's not because of that person has studied, it's because of the paper is really easy. So that is the externally caused event. So whether we are trying to determine this internal or external cause depend on three factors: distinctiveness, consensus, and the consistency. So distinctiveness means it refers to whether an individual display different behavior in different situations. Distinctiveness means whether a person display different behavior. That means whether the person behave differently in different situation or whether the person behave in the same manner in each and every situation. Okay, that is the distinctiveness. For example, if the person, if that student, that if she has gained the highest marks in each and every examination, then that distinctiveness is really low. If she has gained lower marks in one exam and gain highest marks in another exam and gain again low marks in another exam and a moderate marks in other exam, so again the distinctiveness really high. Okay, so if the behavior is whether the different from one another or same, that is the distinctiveness. If everyone who faces the similar situation responds in the same way, we can say it as the behavior shows the consensus. Second factor determining whether the internal or external cause is the consensus. Consensus means if everyone faces the similar situation, we say that okay, there's a consensus. For example, if everyone in the same in the particular examination gets the highest marks, we say that that particular person, so that individual has gained the highest marks is because the exam is really easy. Okay. Whereas if everyone in that same exam gained the lower marks, only this particular person has gained the highest marks. That is, the consensus is really low. Okay. The final thing determining these internal course or external course is the consistency. Consistency means whether the person is consistent in their action, continues the action, so whether the person act in a different way in different situations. That is the consistency. Whether he is persevering with that particular action, remaining or stable with that particular action, or changing. That is the consistency. Okay. Based on these three factors, we can come to a conclusion like this. If the distinctiveness is really high, we can say it as a external cause. If it is really low, we can say it as an internal cause. For example, if she is getting highest marks in one particular examination and getting lower marks in another, getting moderate marks in another, again getting highest marks in another examination. So here, in different situations, the person is behaving differently. That means the distinctiveness is really high. So it's not because of that person has studied really hard. It's because of the situation. Maybe whenever paper is easy, the person gets highest marks. Whenever the paper is hard, she's getting lowest marks. So that is because of an external issue, external cause. Okay. And the consensus in the sense, if everyone in the same examination gets the highest marks, the hence consensus is really high. So that means the paper is really easy. That's why everyone else is getting the highest marks. If she is the only person got the highest marks in that particular examination, then the consensus is really low. So that is because of an internal cause. And then the consistency. So consistency in the sense, if the person is not able to perceive with the situation, if he is maintaining the stable situation, then the consistency is really high. If she is same for every situation, then that is because of the internal issue. And if she consistency is really low, that is because of an external issue. Okay, this is what the attribution theory explains about. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can anyone give me an example like this examination results? Any other example? Think about the organizational context and give me an example. Uh, Before that, I have received the group list from your rep again. Have you started working on the assignment? Okay, think about an example in organizational context. For example, we may think a person is coming late to the organization. Okay, so an example is the person is coming late to the organization. So how you can connect this issue to this attribution theory? How you can connect the distinctiveness with this lateness? If the person is always late to the organization, whether it is an internally caused event or whether it is an externally caused event. Not only one day, his habit is always coming late to the organization or office, whether it is an internally caused or externally caused. Connect your theory with a practical example. For example, there's an organization, there's an employee working in, and he's coming late to the organization. If the time is 8:30, he used to come at 8:45, 8:50, like how he always come to the organization, whether it is an internally caused or externally caused. Okay, so yeah, received a response. It's a external event. Why you are saying it's an external one? So if the person is always late to the organization, how about the distinctiveness? Whether the distinctiveness is high or low? Whether the distinctiveness is high or low? Respond. In this way, you have to think. You should not learn the theory. You should be able to apply the theory to the practical situations. Whether the distinctiveness is high or not. Distinctiveness means displaying different behavior in this different situation. That means in one situation, you have to behave in a certain way. On the other situation, that particular person has to behave in a certain way, different way. In this situation, if the person is always coming late, whether the distinction is high or low. Respond something. No matter whether it is right or wrong answers. Distinctiveness is high. Any answer? Any other answers? Someone has responded. It is high. Anything else? Everyone says it is the high. Why you all are not responding to the questions? MS100, are you here? MS100? MS100, are you here? Okay, so in this situation, you see that that particular person is always late to the organization. That means whatever the situation, he is displaying the same behavior. If the same person is late for the organization one day and another day she comes on time, he or she comes on time, and the another day she comes really late, and again another day she comes on time, then the distinctiveness is high. If the distinctiveness is high, we can relate it to an external event. But here, what happens? Always late. That means whatever the situation, he is experiencing or he is displaying the same behavior. So the distinctiveness is really low. Okay, so in such situation, we can attribute this behavior to an internal cause, not because of the situation, but because of that particular person's attitude and the behavior. He's always become coming late to the organization. Is that clear? Who is that clear to whom who have responded to my question? Are you clear? Yes. Okay. Okay. Looking at the same example, now you see the boss sees that that person is one day the boss has observed that this person is coming late to the organization. The arrival time is 8:30, but he's coming at 8:50. And now the boss has looked into that behavior and called that particular person and asked why you were late today. Okay, so there may be different reasons. So if the person says that and why you asking why you were late, and he's also observing that there are some other people, so you just forget about the consistent behavior. He's always late to the organization. We don't know whether he is coming to the organization at time or not. We don't know about the other days. Only a particular day the boss sees that that particular person is late, and again he sees that the others coming from the same area are also late to the office today. Okay. So in that situation, how about the consensus? Whether the consensus is high or not, high or low. How about the consensus? He's late, and when the manager observes that the people who are coming from the same area are also late today. How about the consensus? Whether the consensus is high or low. Respond something. If you are not responding, how could I know that whether you have understood or not? High because the people also late who lives in that employees area. Yeah, the consensus is really high. If the consensus is really high, whether this behavior is internally caused or externally caused, if the consensus is high, we can relate it to an external event, not because of that particular person, it's because of something else happened to everyone else in the same area. Maybe there may be an accident in the road and the road has been blocked by the traffic. That's because they need to like divert the route and use some other roads or some other mode of transport, and because of that they all were late to the organization today. So that is an external event, not because of that particular person's internal conditions, because of the situation caused them to behave in a certain way. So that's how you should be able to relate the theory with the practical explanations or the practical events. Okay, that is what the attribution theory says about. So one of the most interesting findings from the attribution theory is that the errors of the behavior distort the attribution. So there could be some errors may arise when you make judgment about these internal or external causes. When we make judgment about the behavior of the other people, we tend to underestimate the influence of external factors and overestimate the influence of internal or the personal factor. Okay. So, for example, when you see that person comes late to the organization, rather than looking into others coming from the same area, or rather than uh, inquiring about the person, or rather than looking for the factors behind that lateness, immediately what you do is you think that it's because of this person's behavior he is coming late. You don't care about whether he has a met with an accident or not, what was the issue happened to that person, why this person is late to the organization. So you don't like care about those things and immediately attribute that behavior to an internal event. Since this person is lazy, he is coming to the office very late today. That's how you try to attribute. That is an error when we make judgment about when we make the judgment about the other people. That is called as the fundamental attribution error. If we are overestimating the internal factor and underestimating the external factor, that error is called as the fundamental attribution error. The tendency to underestimate the influence of external factor and overestimate the influence of internal factor when making judgment about the behavior of others, that is called as the fundamental. So you have to consider three main things. First one, you are underestimating the external factor, influence of external factor. And next one, you are overestimating the internal factor. But when you are doing these things, when making judgment about others, not about yourself, okay? So that is the fundamental attribution error. And the people tend to attribute the ambiguous information as relatively flattering and accept the positive feedback while rejecting the negative feedback. Okay. So here, another bias is there, that is a self-serving bias. That means when you evaluate your own successes, you try to attribute it to the internal factor and put the blame for the failures on the external factor. So when you think about or evaluate your successes, your own successes, you try to relate it to your own behavior, the internal factor. But when you fail in something, you try to relate it to the external process. For example, when you get high marks in the examination, you say that it's because of my hard work I have gained this much of marks. But when you get failed in that examination, you used to say that it's not because of my fault, because the paper is really hard. The teacher has set the paper really hard. And because of that, I have gained the lowest marks in this examination. That's how the people used to say. So whenever you get success, you try to attribute it to the internal factors. And when you fail in something, you try to attribute it to the external factor. That is called as the self-serving bias. Okay. So there are two kind of errors could be made when making judgment in relation to the attribution theory. First one, fundamental attribution theory. That is about the others. When you make judgment about others, you try to underestimate external factor, overestimate the internal factor. But self-serving bias is two-way. It's about yourself when you are making judgment about your own personality. And if it is a success, you connect it to the internal factors. If it is a failure, you connect it to the external factor. That is called as the self-serving bias. Okay. Is that clear? Anything to ask? Anything to ask? Is that clear? Okay. Shall we move to the next part? Okay, so we will continue. The next part is the common shortcuts in judging the others. So, what are the shortcuts people use when making judgment about the other people? So, these shortcuts we use in judging the others are frequently valuable, and they allow us to make the accurate perception rapidly and provide the valid data for making the prediction. So, here what is done is these shortcuts help us to make the prediction or the accurate judgment very quickly, rapidly. So, however, they are not foolproof. So that since these are the shortcuts allow us to make the judgment very rapidly, we cannot say, okay, these are the foolproof. That means these are the accurate ones. These are the correct one. So they can and do get us into the trouble when they result in the significant distortions. Okay, there are distortions could happen, but usually these are some shortcuts the people could use when judging the other people. So in order to make judgment very rapidly. So the first kind of the shortcut is the selective perception. So selective perception is a tendency to selectively interpret what one sees on the basis of the interest, background, experience, and the attitude. Okay, so once you see something, your focus will go on something that is most interested to yourself, that is you are familiar with, that you may have some experience already based on the attitude. So why? Because the people cannot assimilate all that we observe, we take in bits and pieces, because we cannot get all the information available in the environment. We just select information based on our interest. Okay, so for example, when you go to a car shop and see there are so many cars parked in that shop, so what you do is your focus will go on some car where the color is really interesting to you, color you really like to have. Okay, maybe if you really want to have a car in the color of red color, then your focus will go on whatever the car available in red color. So that is because your interest is on that red color. So that's how we selectively perceive. Okay, so we try to ignore all other things which are not interested to ourselves, which are not matching with our experience and attitude. So, but we don't choose randomly, rather, we select according to the interest, background, experience, and the attitude. So, selective perception allows us to speed read others, but not without the risk of drawing an inaccurate picture. So, sometimes, like when we select the people from our interest, that may have the risk of drawing an inaccurate picture. Sometimes the person with some other characteristics or something out of our interest may be the best one. So, for example, this happens especially when having the employment interviews. So, if you have some interest over something, for example, if you are really interested in the sports or the cricket, when the people, one person come up with the certificates in all these sports and the cricket, your interest will automatically go on to that particular person. So, because of these issues, sometimes that person may not be the best one for the organization. Someone else may be the best one, but you have selected that particular person because that person matches your interest. Okay, so that risk is there. So whenever there is many information available, and whenever you are not there able, you are not in a position to process all the information available, you just select it random based on your selective perception. That means based on your interest, experience, and the attitude. So seeing what we want to see, we can draw unwarranted conclusion from an ambiguous situation. So we see what we wanted to see only. We just ignore everything else in the environment that we just don't want to see. Okay, that is the first judgment we make about the others. First shortcut when we make judgment about others. Is that clear? The perception, selective perception is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if it is clear, then the second shortcut is halo effect. That means the tendency to draw a general impression about an individual on the basis of a single characteristics. Okay, so no matter you whatever the personal characteristics an individual have, a general impression is drawn, or general thought is developed based on a single characteristics. For example, when you are in a position to select uh, someone for the cricket match, there are different people, for example, five male and five female. So you have the opportunity to select one person from those 10 people. So what you do is you just select a male from the the people of 10. Okay, randomly select 10 people, male. Okay, so here what happens is you are just selecting a person based on a single character. Since that particular person is a male, say for example, you consider it as there are 9 girls and only one male, one boy is there, then you just select that one male for the team. So why you are selecting? It's because he is a male. So the characteristics, so single characteristics is considered when you are selecting or when you are making some decisions or making some judgment. Sometimes the any of the girl among the 9 may be the best player than the person who has already selected. Okay, but you don't care about their ability, their skills, and all. But what you consider is their gender only. That is the halo effect. Just making the judgment on the basis of a single characteristics. That is more important. The second one is the contrast effect. Third effect is the contrast effect. That means evaluation of a person's characteristics that is affected by the comparison with the other people recently encountered who rank higher or lower on the same characteristics. Okay, so that means you are trying to compare one person with the other person, and based on the comparison you make judgment about the second person. Okay, for example, when people, this is mostly encountered in the situation of employment interview. For example, you are being as a evaluated in an interview panel where you encountering a person. That person is really well performer and speaks really well and answers to the questions, every questions in a very prepared and professional manner. And you think that he is more suitable to this organization or to this position. Okay, so that evaluation he has already came up with. But when you encounter the second person who came after the new next person, you will try to compare the second person with the first one, and based on that comparison you make some judgment about the second person. So whatever the second person says, whatever the second person do in that organization interview, you will try to compare that second person's behavior with the earlier one. If that's earlier, based on that comparison only you try to evaluate the second person. If you think the second person is performing better than the earlier one, you will try to give more marks to the second person. Or else, if you think the second person is performing at a lower level than the earlier one, you try to give less marks to the second person. That is called as the contrast effect. Okay, so the next effect is stereotyping. Stereotyping means judging someone on the basis of one's perception of the group to which the person belongs to. So here you are making maybe judgment about male female characteristics or some religion. So based on those characteristics, in which group that particular person fall into, you are making some judgment. Maybe the age group, you just make a judgment like whoever uh, age above 50 are not capable of engaging in the physical task, and whoever below 40 are more capable of engaging in the physical task. But the reality may be something else. So someone who is above 50 may also more capable than the person who is below 40 or below 50. But what you're doing, since the person belongs to the group of above 50, you say that you are not capable of doing this. So that stereotyping also one type of shortcuts the people use to make judgment about the others. Okay, so is that clear? The shortcuts used in these judging others. Anything to ask? Is that clear? If the shortcuts are clear only, we can like go for the applications of it in the organization. I have already connected some shortcuts with the applications. Okay, thank you. So now we will see how these shortcuts are applied in the organizational context. So the most obvious application of it is the employment interview. I have already connected some shortcuts with this interview. So employment interview, a few people are hired without an interview, but interviewers make the perpetual judgments that are often inaccurate and draw early impression that quickly become enriched. Okay, so most interviewing decisions change very little after the first 4 or 5 minutes of an interview. As a result, the information elicited in the interview carries greater weight than the information elicited later. So that is, a good applicant is probably characterized more by the absence of unfavorable characteristics than by the presence of the favorable characteristics. So again, how this interview is conducted is how it affect the interview is, excuse me. Okay, so whenever an interview is conducted by the examiners, they just stick with the information the applicant used to provide during the early stage of the interview. Even the applicant provides some information, something else in the later stages, they always want to stick with the earlier information and they don't want to change their mindset about the applicant based on the information given in the later stages. Okay, so that is the one characteristics of this employment interview and where the shortcut is applied, because the people used to stick with earlier information and they don't want to change their information or change their idea in the later stages. The second information or the second application of the shortcut is the performance expectation. People attempt to validate their perception of the reality even when these are faulty. So the term self-fulfilling prophecy and the Pygmalion effect describe how an individual behavior is determined by the other's expectation. Other shortcut is uh, the performance expectation. It's used in the performance expectation. For example, there are two shortcuts have been used. First one is the self-fulfilling prophecy. Sometimes your superior, the supervisor, may believe in yourself that you could able to perform really better than your actual ability to perform, but your supervisor is believing in yourself that you can perform better. For example, maybe your teacher believes in yourself that you could get more than 95% of the marks in this examination, but you may just capable of getting more than 85%. But what you do is, because that particular person or the particular teacher is believing in yourself, you try even harder, you study even harder and try to achieve that more than 90% in the examination. It's because your the supervisor or the teacher is expecting something more from yourself. He is believing in yourself. In order to make that belief come true, you are trying even harder. That is the performance self-fulfilling prophecy, and that is usually happened in the performance expectation. And the third application is the performance evaluation. Although the appraisal can be objective, for example, the salesperson is appraised based on how many amount or how much of the sales he or she has generated in that particular territory. Many jobs are evaluated in subjective terms. So subjective evaluation, though often necessary, are problematic because of all the errors we have discussed thus far. Selective perception, the contrast effect, halo effect, and so on will affect these performance evaluation. Okay, so if the person is really favorable to that the evaluator, they will put more and more marks to that marks during the evaluation, and if the person is not falling under the desirable group, they will just put lower marks during the performance evaluation. So that's how the performance evaluation is affected by all of the errors discussed above. Okay, so these are the applications of these errors and perception in organizational context. Is there any doubts on this? Anything to ask? Is it clear how the performance expectation, how performance evaluation is affected, and how the employment interview is being affected? Okay, if it is clear, we can wind up the class and we will see about uh, this decision making and the perception, the connections of it in the next class. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.